Hey guys, happy Wednesday. Valerie Hunt, RunRx, Ask Me Anything. So this week's questions were all about pain, which is very typical for RunRx since we are about running pain-free. If you've never been here and this is your first time, welcome. If you're thinking, how do I get started and what is she talking about? Maybe you've seen a few of the videos. I would check out the RunRx reboot on YouTube. I always tell people, go to the YouTube channel. There's a 30-day reboot. It's got skills, strength, self-care, but most of all in the beginning part, it's got the how to start your practice, kind of thinking about the movement. Because think about it, if you come to me, like what I had today the questions were, what do I do if I have knee pain? And what do I do if I have pain in my hamstring, specifically the origin? And should I keep running or should I rest? No runner wants to stop running, so I completely understand that. And this is why having that rotation, by the way, of the skills, strength, and self-care is a really good way to reincorporate running or not feel like you're missing out on your running. So I'm going to talk about both. Let me put my glasses on for just a minute. If you do have a question, you're welcome to post it and I'll look. Okay, let me just first talk about the role of the knee in running and the role of the hamstring in running, since these are the two pains that seem to be very common. So first of all, what is running? It's my favorite question. So running itself is literally the body free-falling from the running pose, and you fall and you pull your foot up. And every time you pull your foot up, you're recovering what's called the running pose. So if I know the elements of running, so if I say, okay, running is free falling, I can only free fall from the running pose, and the action I have to recover pose is to pull my foot. So first I have to kind of be okay with that. I have to accept that. There's three elements to the gait cycle. There's the pose itself, there's falling, and then there's pulling. The best part of running is I can practice these elements to become better at running itself. But first I have to kind of know that's running, right? And so then I'm like, okay, if my knee is hurting, what does the knee do and what's the knee's role really in running? So what's the knee's role anyway? So the knee's a hinge joint. It has no muscles, it has attachments, right? It attaches, but there's no actual muscle. It's a hinge. So if you everybody try this for me. Just take your hands and just hold them underneath your hamstring for just a minute and swing. So your knee, you see it's a hinge. So what it actually does is it either extends the leg or it lets it just relax. So the hamstring itself closes the leg, right? The muscle here, when this muscle contracts, it closes the leg. The hip and thigh extend the leg. And also you could even talk about the lower leg, right? This is extension. So if in running, I simply want to pull my foot up from the ground, I want to use my hamstring. So the hamstring is really the active muscle. But here's something really cool to know. In running, we only need to use about 10% of that hamstring. So if I'm hurting in my knee or in my hamstring, then my first thought needs to be, I'm doing too much work. So that's a good thing, to work less. So when I stand here and I am the one pulling my foot, right? I've got my hand on my hamstring. You should try this. Your knees are bent. Press into the hamstring. And you should feel that it closes the leg. And what's so cool, it's really raining hard outside, is you have what's called a hamstring reflex. And the reflex itself, it's a reflex, like your bicep has one. You hit your hand here, see, that's called a reflexive response of the bicep, rather than if I'm holding a weight and doing a bicep curl. Hamstring is the bicep of the leg. So if I use the hamstring correctly in running, once I've pulled my foot up from the ground, the hamstring itself finishes the pull. much faster, by the way, than you can. So if your hamstring hurts, it's telling you that you are actively pulling, trying to either pull all the way to pose or kicking back. Because if everybody take your hand and put it on your hamstring and kick back. You feel that? It's like it's called an active hamstring contraction. So it'd be like if we went to the weight room and we were going to do hamstring curls instead of bicep curls. And I was like, put a weight on your leg and kick, right? And then I'd say, okay, do, I don't know, 3 sets of 10. Well, imagine if you took that same exercise and said, now it's 1,500 steps a mile. And I said to you, all right, put a 30-pound weight here and run 1,500 steps. All of a sudden, your hamstrings are like, ah! So if your hamstring hurts, you are kicking instead of pulling, and you're using too much active contraction. So the answer or the correction is to simply practice pulling. Practice in place when you are not running so you can feel the correct movement. And then when you run, if it starts to act up or it hurts, stop a second, do a few standing pulls or pull in place to feel the difference, and then restart your run. If my knee hurts, right, we just talked about the hamstring itself closes the leg. So there's no knee, like the knee is just hanging out. You see, it stays in the same place while your hamstring closes the leg. The knee action that we see is that as the hamstring closes the leg, the knee gets out of the way for my foot, you see? So the knee had to just get out of the way. But it's just a natural closing of the knee, of the leg. The knee itself, it's not doing anything. It's just staying right where it's supposed to be. It's just hanging out. So if my knee hurts, it's actually hurting because something else is happening either below the knee or above the knee. So most people with the knee pain, it's coming from this. So extension. So if you take your hip and bring your leg forward with your hip, you see I'm totally out of whack here, but you're out of balance anyway. Your foot's going to come down somewhere in front of you. And it doesn't matter if it's the forefoot, if it's the whole foot, if it's the heel, side, it doesn't matter. It's ahead of you. It's going to be 3 times your body weight on your foot, your ankle, your knee, your hip, your back. The whole body gets affected. The reason most of us feel it in our knee when this happens is because this is usually when you're in front, it's pulling on the hip, so the pain's going to show up somewhere. Also, it's like slapping the ground, okay? So both of those are like an impact on the knee. So if instead my knee is bent, and when I run, instead of ever thinking about putting the foot down, I only pull my foot up. So watch, up. And you see how your foot in place, is right under you. And again, I also know what I'm doing because now I know, oh, I need to pull. I'm using my hamstring. My knee stays still, basically, in the same spot. So if I start to take my leg forward, then I'm not using my hamstring anymore, right? I'm switching to my hip. So what do I have to do then to help myself not feel knee pain? You've got to do 2 things. One is you've got to practice falling, just using a wall. You've got to practice the sensation of what's called free falling, which is just what it sounds like. It's literally letting your whole body fall forward. Because when I do that, this is acceleration. So if I allow my body to just fall and I pull my foot, I will always land correctly. Isn't that cool? No matter the speed. So it's not about I'm trying to go faster or slower. It's about being what's called on time. So if you start running by where's my fall point and letting your hips lead you, here's your gas pedal is right here in the center of your body. You start to allow your body to free fall. and you simply pull your feet, your knee pain gets reduced because impact gets reduced by over 50%. Ah, really? That's why I got into this, guys. I got into teaching pose method of running because when I started coaching running, we all were getting injured, including the coach. And I was like, that's no good. You know, and this was 22 years ago, and I'm still coaching the same technique and stuff today. It still works the exact same because we still have the same knee joints, still have the same hamstrings. And people said to me, by the way, because I was much younger then, in my 20s, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, running is so bad for your knees. And no, it's not. My knees are fine. Running is not bad for your knees. Running incorrectly is bad for your knees. So what's really crazy, but also so amazing, is that I can practice running without running. And anybody that's got an injury, anyone that's just getting started, anyone that's like, man, I haven't run in a while, because of my knee, because of my hamstring, because of whatever, because of my breathing, anything, knowing that I could actually just teach myself really having a good pose, which is literally teaching yourself posture for walking, for sitting, for whatever you're doing, balance, right? Just standing in pose is balance. You're going to get stronger overall. So it's really important to understand that just practicing the elements itself of what running is doesn't actually require running. So that when you do run, you're like, okay, I'm going to put into practice what I just kind of practiced. And then it starts to become your running. Because I promise you that I don't just go running and I look like this. Because the thing that we cannot feel in running is this part, is my legs separated. So you have to practice what you're going to feel. And that's so important. If anyone just watched the recent Olympic marathon, either the male or the female, they were both very exciting. But I'm just going to go with the male marathon because it's so fun to watch Kipchoge run. First of all, he's an incredible runner. His ability to hold his fall angle and pose is right now pretty much unmatched. As you saw when he surged forward, he left the crowd. He looked the exact same as everyone when they were all running together, but as soon as he left, you could just see, like, there's no effort in his face. He's not cringing. He's so efficient. And guys, I'm telling you, part of that efficiency is the ability to just hold the correct pose in running. And because we can't feel that lengthening, we can't feel that separation, then we don't need to really practice it. What you need to do though, so this goes for whoever's got pain, hamstring, knee, calf, you name it. Add in some extra strength and self-care to support your ability to run. And so what I mean by that is I absolutely can practice just the elements of running, right, while I'm not running. But knowing that I want to be able to have a big old range of motion if I want it, here's 2 exercises that will help whatever you've got going on. So I'm going to let's just start seated, okay? Because if my knee hurts, I may not want to put weight on it. So this is for my knees hurt, my hamstrings, okay, everybody. So just sit like this, very simple. Pick up a foot, put it back. Pick up a leg, put your hand under it. Now I want you to just feel. When I do that, my calf is totally loose, and so is my ankle, okay? See, this is called floppy ankle. And then I want you to feel what it is your hamstring does. You see? It just allows, it's very no effort. You see? So I'm just kind of like, get to know your hamstring. All right, try it on the other side. Again, feel. There's just no tension. When your foot is in the air, there should be no tension. There's no tension in my foot. There's 0 tension in my calf. So this is kind of just a nice way to feel that there's just no tension, all right? So this is an exercise that everybody can do, and it's going to help you with both holding your pose up, standing upright, and also a little bit with your range of motion. It's very simple. So it'll take less than a minute. So first just lay flat on your back, look straight up, take your legs straight out. So you're looking up, you feel the back of your feet, and you're going to lift your hips 10 times. So you can count I'm going to ask you a question. You're welcome to comment it later. Do you feel your glutes or your hamstrings? If you feel your glutes, great. If you feel your hamstrings, reset, because this is a hip exercise, which is really glute. So I should feel that my hips are unweighting off the ground, but that if I feel any muscle contraction, it's not because I'm doing it, it's just happening, but it should be in the glute. Try 5 in pose. So 1, 2. Now if you cannot do it with the legs straight, because this is really challenging. So if I'm like, wow, that really pulls on my knee or my hamstring, then simply bend the leg and still continue. Press your foot into the ground and make sure it's the glute that's doing the work. So that's called a pose hip lift. You see, I'm in my pose and I'm doing a hip lift. Straight leg or bent leg, but everybody should try to progress to the straight leg. Okay, second exercise is 1 leg up, 1 leg down. And I want you to just simply use the middle of your body to change support. You see? I had 1 foot on the ground, 1 foot in the air, and then I'm switching. So again, this is just basically, it's called a hip opener. And I'm just going to do opposite hand to opposite foot. So this kind of movement helps to be able to have an increased range of motion when I actually run. So do you see what I mean? If you start to go through the reboot, for example, with RunRx, I give you the elements of running, because I can't just do stretches and think, now I can go running. You just did a stretch, right? But we just put ourselves, right, what we just did, that was called strength specific for running. So stand now in your pose if you just did those leg lifts and hip lifts with me. If you just did that exercise and now here I am, you should hopefully feel a couple of things. One is, wow, feel a little bit lighter in my hips. It felt a little bit easier to pull with my hamstring, right? I just activated these muscles. I'm like in a really great place right now. So this is why it's so fun to put it together. So from this position, from this pose, try this one time with me. Just let your body free fall forward. Now pull up, up, up. You see? Try that one more time. Stand in your running pose. Leave that knee bent. Look ahead. Let your hips lead as you free fall forward. Now pull, 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 pull. See? It's a natural progression. And here's the coolest part. We all have the ability to do it. Everybody can learn to run, but everyone actually already has that ability to run. The best part of what we're doing is just helping you get there more efficiently. So the answer, should I quit running? I would quit running if I'm hurting. I don't need to quit running. I need to quit going out for volume, and I need to focus on my running practice. So instead of going out and trying to run distance, you could go out and try to do a mix of drills with short bursts of running. Not speed, just short bursts. Once it starts to hurt, reset. Why is it hurting, right? If it's my hamstring, it's because I'm kicking back. Let me try just pulling for a second, relax everything. If it does not hurt when I'm pulling in place, there's no reason it hurts when I travel. Keep that in mind. The only thing that's changing when I travel is what? I'm falling. The pull itself stays the same. So these are things that are so great because as I'm working on my running, you can give yourself feedback that way, right? Then I know. There's no reason I should be hurting. Let me find ways to help me correct myself. Now, of course, the best way to really do it, if you really want to get into it, is join the membership. 12 weeks of coaching with a gait analysis, video check-in. So I watch you, and we have Zoom and we interact. So if you ever really are like stuck in where you're running, want to get better at it, or just want to see that, hey, let me see what's going on in my run, definitely would suggest that. But otherwise, guys, do that balance, skill, strength, and self-care. That's really what's going to help you in your run. Oh, good. Well, definitely comment and let me know how it goes if you try it. I love hearing the feedback from you guys. All right, keep the questions coming, and I'll see you next Wednesday. Thanks so much.